DC here, hi guys. Well, I'm trying to catch up on vids and after coming back with the new computer, and I fell on two vids right now, one from Ninja Jesse and the reply from Blue Flamingo. I know there's a few other replies. I haven't had time to look at them yet. But it was, can you agree? Can we agree? Now, when I listened to that, it really touched me a lot. No, because the fact is, I come from, I would say if you go through my life, there's a whole series of dichotomies. Just start out. My mom, I come from Canada, from Quebec, okay? My mom is from the English-speaking part of Canada. My dad is from the French-speaking part. Now, to make it as close as possible, I mean, if you know Quebec, sometimes this is like a mixed marriage, and I'm talking about mixed races, because people talk about race there a lot of times when they're talking about the French and the English-speaking populations. It's as close as that. It's like a racial issue. So I'm a mixed person, like Barack Obama. Yeah, actually, I like that in a way. Not because I'm an Obama fan, not automatically, actually, and probably not really. But he's a mixed bag as well. Although he passes off for a black person, as far as I know, or at least from what I've read, he comes from a mixed heritage, like myself, except it's white and white. Let's push the analogies further. My mom was Protestant. My dad was Catholic. When they got married, she had to become Catholic. I was brought up as a Catholic. As an adult, I became Protestant. It's more difficult than that because there's other views. I mean, that's the way that I interpreted the Bible. Made me change over. Okay. My political views have probably changed over because, you know, in Quebec, there's very straight political views about separation and so on. I moved over to Europe. I'm living in Switzerland. I live in the French part, on the border with the German part. I work with Germans. German-speaking, German people. I have to speak another language. I have to get along and actually with two cultures. Again, two cultures. It's always been the way it is in my life, I would say. There's just so many things. I love the English-speaking world. I live in the French-speaking world. The people that I are with every day don't share the same views as I do. If I talk about my YouTube friends, my religious beliefs, and so on, I am surrounded by people that have other views than myself. So, what does that mean? Should I start hating everybody around me? No, I think actually the fact is that having been brought up in a multicultural, multidimensional world, micro environment and everything, means that I've learned, at least for myself, to, should I use the word tolerate? I don't actually always like that word, tolerate. Accept is a word I like better. Tolerate means I just kind of get by, you know. I try to accept. Opinions, they're most often varying quite a bit actually from my own. I had some very interesting telephone conversations not too long ago with a person who is Wiccan. And I mean, that can be very far at times from my beliefs. But what should I say? Should I say I hate the person? Far from it. I mean, that actually has nothing to do with it. I mean, that's the whole idea about accepting another person. It doesn't mean that you have to believe. And I don't even actually think that we should agree all. I think our title, I think, Can We Agree? I don't think we have to agree. The question is of acceptance. I mean, I know like here in Switzerland, between the German-speaking people and the French people, there's sometimes worlds of difference. And it was the same, I mean, in Canada, like I just said, in the Quebec where I live, we are talking about racial differences. I know you're going to say it's both people are white, but if you lived in Quebec, you would feel it that way. When I was a kid, we had to, there was the English-speaking people that had to walk to go to school, some of them had to walk in front of my school, which was a French-speaking school. And I saw some, there was gang fights, like really terrible fights, down to blood and everything, blood and guts, a bit that way. On our street, we were the only English-speaking people on the street. So we were like, like the black family on the street. I mean, do you see? I mean, what I'm getting at is that, in a way, it's like adapt or die. I might be exaggerating, but I don't think actually that it always is that difference. Can we agree? No, I don't think actually we should even agree. That's the whole thing actually, is that isn't that part of the pleasure, I would say, of debating? I mean, debating means that you are listening to somebody else's opinion. And actually, I think one thing that's very important is that there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things where we're talking about gray zones, gray areas where actually there can be place for more than one opinion. Now, I know each one of us has what we would call fundamental truths that are in our inner core. And I don't think we want to debate on that. But on the other hand, what we are talking about here is to have an open mind and be able to listen to somebody else. Now, for example, I've noticed that in my American friends and the literature that I read, there are probably a lot more, I would say, pro-Republicans. Nevertheless, I realize that my own person, my way of acting is somewhere in between probably what would be left and right. Because there's a big difference actually when you talk about Republicans and Democrats. Here in Europe, I mean, even the Democrats are very often what one would consider more often right-wing than what we would call here in Europe. Now, let's go on a little bit about that, is that if you're able to talk and create a culture of discussion with open values, I think that you're not getting closer maybe to agreeing, but you are doing one thing. You're talking, you're not fighting. It can come to words, I know, but it's to create a climate of trust. Now, those are nice words, aren't they? How many of you have actually known it everywhere? I have not known it in most places. I mean, like, for example, where I work, we talk a lot about core values and things like that. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, people kind of forget those things, don't they? Okay. I'm going a bit here and there. I guess the thing is that back to our YouTube community, I know and I'm certain that a lot of us have different opinions on things. We don't always see the same way, but, and that's something that's really, really interesting, is that how that we are getting in a culture where we permit ourselves actually to vent our opinions without going into to an aggressive behavior. Yeah, there'll always be some haters, but that doesn't mean that we have to be. We can create actually our own microclimate, our own lovely world here, where we can each be ourselves, and we can each be different. And that is probably one of these beauties of the multicultural world that the internet has opened for us, especially with YouTube. Okay, so DC is seeing that he's starting the vlog and it's going on the time as usual. I do like to chat, and I guess some of you have noticed that before. Okay, so this is going to be it. This is going to be my take on this one. It's going to be DC signing off.